Well, howdy, folks. It's time for Beyond the Smoke Barbecue Talk. So grab your drink of choice and come gather around the fire as we talk all things Beyond the Smoke. Featuring pitmaster chats from all your favorite names in barbecue. We chat about competitions, pits, meats, and everything in between. From barbecue to grilling, from trimming to smoking, we got you covered. Got questions? Let us know. We're always happy to hear from you. Thanks for coming, friend. We're glad you're here. Now sit back, relax, and let's talk some barbecue. It's time to go Beyond the Smoke.
What's up, fellas?
What's up, boys?
What's going on?
Oh, it's
I
Monday.
made it.
Yeah, no shit.
Freezing my ass off.
It's cold Monday.
Man,
It's nice and warm in here, though.
Yep.
Look,
Glad to
you
be
know what's
inside.
Yeah, you know what's funny is right before the cold front hit, freaking heater stopped for heating, dude. The house.
Oh shit.
So gotta go put my electronics guy hat on and fix it. So we're all good. We're all good.
It's all natural gas over there or what?
Yeah, natural gas. I
That's
was
the
gonna
best.
say it's about right, dude. In the summertime, our compressor in the AC took a crap, and then I was like, coldest day of the year. Here goes the heater. I was like, damn, dude. But we're all good. We're all good.
It's like I was telling you guys, it's funny. We're complaining that it's 25, 30 degrees outside. It's minus. Feels like minus 40 something in North Dakota right now.
No thanks.
Yeah, I don't know how y'all did that over there. Honestly.
But you can always put more layers on. That's all I can say. When it's hot, you can't take more layers off. You know, out in the oil fields, we got, FR pants on, and I wear an undershirt under that. We got a hard hat on, and boots and steel toes. And I prefer to be cold over hot when I'm outside working. But that's just me.
Yeah, not in negative 50 degrees, dude.
Ah, it ain't that bad, dude.
Man, once you get moving, it's not too bad.
That's what I'm saying.
It's when you're sitting still that it sucks.
don't catch me over there. Hell no.
Nope, that's too cold for me.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's definitely.
So I'm excited about today's show. What do y'all think?
It's gonna be a good one, man.
Oh man.
Let's talk about it. Who we got?
So, as y'all know, we got the man, Smoking Lone Star himself, Arnie Tex, man.
Yep.
Coming off his 1 million subscriber YouTube channel, book, man, this dude's busy.
Mm-hmm.
He's busy, man, with his videos, content, putting content out, his rubs, book, just everything he's doing. So we're happy to have him on, and let's not waste any time. Let's bring him in. There he is.
What's up, guys?
Come on, bro.
How are you,
What's up,
Arnie?
Howdy, howdy. What's cooking besides the cold weather? I heard the Dakota comment, and a friend of mine is up there right now working. He's in construction, and he sent me a picture this morning, or I think it was last night, and it's just like all snow. And then the temperature says -28. I'm like, shit.
Yeah,
I told him I'm staying in Texas, bro.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
It's cold. Yeah, I'm out on that too, man. It's true. You do get acclimated, eventually you get used to it, but whew, man, I don't mind cold weather, but I don't know about a -28, man.
Especially coming from South Texas. I was just telling the guys earlier that 40 degrees is cold down there.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely gets cold at 40. We're like, what the heck, man? Get the coats and the underwear, what do they call it, underalls or whatever?
Yeah, thermals and stuff. Yeah.
Thermals.
The thermals, the coveralls, and
The HEB sells out of toilet paper.
Yeah, that's true.
It's weird. I mean, we were up there for 10 years, and my daughter lives up there now, so she sends my wife that kind of stuff. But we were up there for Christmas, and it was, I don't know, 30, 20 in the morning, and we thought it felt nice. As soon as we got back to Texas and it was in the 40s, we're like, holy shit, it's fucking cold outside. It's just different, man. I don't understand it. But it feels colder here than it does up there.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing.
Well, Arnie, thanks for being on the show, man. Like, honestly, I know I talked to the guys about bringing you on. I think that was back in November, and then I reached out to you, and then you told me to get with Dan, and I finally got with Dan, and y'all were able to make it work, man. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir.
With your busy schedule and everything that y'all got going on, and it's a real honor to have you on, for sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much, guys. And actually, really the honor's mine. I mean, I feel very humbled, by everything that's going on in our life right now. It's just kind of wild, man. Honestly, it's wild. We're just kind of like doing our thing, going 100 miles an hour. Sometimes we don't know if it's Sunday or if it's Thursday or what the heck, we're like, what day is it? That was last year. This year, we're kind of hoping that we can kind of tone it down a little bit, so we can promote the book a little bit more and have time to do that, because, that's a big project that we took on. And of course, we want it to be successful, right? And the publisher wants it to be successful. So we want to help them, make sure it is, hopefully. But yeah, thank you guys, man. I appreciate it. I'm looking at y'all's name and I'm like, I don't really know y'all, and I'm like, man, I need more time meeting up with my barbecue friends, getting to know people, right? But
yeah,
year, 2 years, maybe we're just like going 100 miles an hour. Not to complain, it's all good, it really is all good. But man, it's a wild ride right now. Still, we're just kind of trying to figure out which way's up sometimes.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, that's one thing we wanted to do, because there's not a big barbecue scene up here in West Texas, North Texas area, where Anthony's at in New Mexico. So we wanted to come together and see if we can bring more attention to the area, and with the guests that we've had, and we all cook. You know what I mean? We all cook all the time, and these guys are pretty strong competitors. Out in the circuit. So we just got together and we met through barbecue, and here we are. You know what I mean? Just bringing people, the word, I guess.
Right on.
So
that's something I kind of miss, the competition scene. being out there with basically my extended family, right? There's like a whole different family out there. Your friends, you look forward to seeing them on the weekends and hanging out and drinking a couple of cold beers and just getting your meats ready and whatever. And then if they walk and first, you clap for them. If you walk first, they clap for you. I mean, that's just it's really a good scene. And I miss that. I don't miss the whole getting ready and the stress and the loading, all that stuff. I don't miss that at all. But I do miss being out there with my friends, man. I do.
Chicken turning.
Yeah, that was always like the most stressful because it's
Stressful,
first, right?
the
And
most
it's like,
stressful.
shit.
Once chickens was turned in, and I'm good. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
good.
you
I
catch
can
your breath.
breathe. I can breathe.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, very
So-
true, very true.
but before we get into anything, Arnie, let's. I had a question of, where the Arnie Tex name come from? Because you're a Smoky Lone Star, right? I mean,
Yes, I was smoking Lone Star, still am from a competition team perspective. And, I mean, it just kind of happened, and I'm going to try to see if I think my story's accurate, but we were blowing and going in the comp, and it was like 2016, and we'd had another really great year. We were just starting to do some classes, some local competition classes and backyard classes with a sponsor. And my son was doing his last year of college, getting his what's it called? Not the master's, the one right before the master's, the bachelor.
Associate,
And
bachelor's.
yeah, and then he was moving on to the master's that year. And so he had a project. His whole background is photo video, right? That wasn't what he was studying, but he was still going to school and still doing that. That was his job. And so they asked the class to do some kind of a project, and then they get, graded and whatever. And he just come up with this idea to do a couple of videos, right, for YouTube and social media. And he said, well, what do you want to call yourself? And I said, well, I'm the Smoking Lone Star, dude. He goes, no, you need a name, like something. And I go, I don't know. He goes, you're Arnie Tex. You're always all about Texas. You're Texas, 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 red, white, and blue, red, white, and blue. He goes, I'm just going to call you Arnie Tex. All right, cool, whatever, And here we are. That's how it started. And our very, very, very first video was just a real shaky foam video that we did in 2016 when all this was going on. I was trying to get onto Barbecue Pitmasters. It was the thing at the time, right?
Right.
And so we just shot a real quick video out in the backyard, and I said some words and whatever, and that's kind of how it started. So we used Arnie Tex for that, and then we just kind of kept going. I opened a Facebook account under that name, and my son and I and my daughter, we just kind of would always talk about it. At the time, they lived here in the valley too, and then a couple years later, we were doing classes all over the place. We were up there in Lubbock about 5 or 6 times, I think, a couple of times for classes and a couple of times to compete. And I told my wife, we were coming back one time, and I told her, I'm going to name my 10 Arnie Tex Highway because we're always on this freaking road. Seems like we're here all the time. You go once and come once, right? You go once, you come once. And so, yeah, that's how the name came about. And then we just kind of stuck with that, as the social media name. And so here we are.
Nice. You still got roots over here in West Texas?
No, I sure don't. I have a couple of friends there. My mom had some compadres, my mom and dad, and we were up there. We went and cooked in Fort Davis. I don't know. I want to say it was 2018 or so, maybe. Yeah. It was the first time they had a cook-off in Fort Davis up there.
Smoking the mountains.
And, yeah. And so we went to do that, and I went and dropped the trailer off. Then I went down into Pecos and dropped my mom with her comadre. And so they hung out there for the weekend, and we had gone back to cook. And so last year at the beginning of the year, that comadre passed away. But her daughter and I and her brother grew up together, and he passed away too in an automobile wreck. And but she's still there, and so we'll wish each other happy birthdays and Merry Christmas and things like that. But that's kind of like the last friend, other than Jeff Linderman. I grew up with Jeff at the Linderman Ranch, and he's still there in Pecos. We went by and visited with him too, and I think he's in the oil field business too. Not exactly sure what he does, but it was just a quick visit, and we kind of quack-a-lacked a little bit, and then we were down the road to go back to Fort Davis. But
well, like you told me, Arnie, you're not missing much.
Yeah, but you know what? And I don't know if you're like that too. I always wonder, like, what happened to this guy, and what happened to that girl, and what happened to that teacher? You know, I don't know if you ever think like that sometimes, but I do. It's like, man, I wonder whatever happened to this guy and that guy. Whatever. I remember there was a tornado in over there several years back, and there was a friend I had in the Verhalen area, and his name was Lucas. And I remember some friends telling me that he died in that tornado, and I was like,
Oh, wow.
man, that's pretty crazy, man. There was a Gallegos family in that area too. They were more toward the Balmaray area, so it was pretty wild. We went to that cook-off, and my wife and I drove around Balmaray before we took Mom to Pecos, and we drove around Balmaray. You know, the whole neighborhood,
Yeah.
all three streets, you know, or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
The pool. You went around the pool?
And the pool. Yeah. And I was like, damn, you know, that's not how I remember this place. It was like nice and pretty, and it was, you know, a cool little town, right? And but it just looked so run down and old and just like gone, you know. I was kind of disappointed.
And then you drive into the mountains, and man, it's beautiful there.
Yeah,
man,
it's gorgeous up there.
Oh my gosh.
And we came back through Alpine, right? From Fort Davis. We came to that road all the way through Alpine. Man, Alpine's such a pretty little town, man. I was like, man, I want to move up here, man. I love the mountains. I have this thing.
Right.
I want to go to the mountains to live, right? I tell my wife that. She's like, you're crazy. I ain't going to no mountains. but here's a funny story too, man. We lived in Pecos, in between Pecos and Balmaray and the Lindemann Ranch. And before we left, I remember I looked at the map and I was like, I want to see if we can pass by our old house, right? I just want to see what's there and whatever. So when we were coming on the way to leave my mom from Balmaray, I took the road that goes to Toya, I think it is. And I was looking on the Google map, looking. I think it's this road. And so I'm going through this road and that dirt road. And it's all dirt. They're all tore up, the old field trucks, right? And so I'm driving, coming along about 50 miles an hour and some gravel, dirt road, whatever. And I see this ditch, man. I mean, a ditch, like across the road. So I lock them all up, like, and the truck just boom, and high sides. We all hit our head in the roof, right? Like, everybody okay, you know? And everybody's like, yeah, I'm okay. My wife and my mom, it was just us three. And I was like, what the hell is somebody doing putting a ditch across the road? You know? I mean, unless people speed through there. I mean, you're out in the middle of nowhere, literally. It's nothing out there, right?
Yeah, probably washed out.
Rigs. And here's what's funny, man. So we're going, okay. And I'm looking at my wife, and behind my wife, through the window, I see our old house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, hey, that's our old house. If I hadn't hit that ditch and stopped, we might have never found it, you know?
Yeah.
So that was just kind of weird how that happened. It was
really, that was God's way to telling you to stop.
Yeah, I guess, or at least slow down, right? I didn't think I was going that fast. I was like 50 miles an hour. It was a dirt road, and I was looking at the map trying to figure out where I was, right? But that was just such a weird little experience, the way that happened.
Well, Jennifer's contest up there it's pretty popular, man. It's a big one. It's a big one, and it's a great contest. So
yeah, and it's a neat little town too, Fort Davis. I still have a lot of great memories of Fort Davis. My dad used to take us up there, you know, when we were little, and he'd grill out there in the mountains and whatever. We'd go climb rocks and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of great memories from that. We went up to the observatory this last time and looked around and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
So I saw a question up here, Arnie. CB Barbosa's asking if you're going to go to San Antonio Rodeo this year.
I'm not really planning to right now. We've got a lot of stuff on our plate still, and our main thing was to try and get this book promoted. And honestly, we're kind of in catch-up mode still from late last year, and now all of a sudden it's tax time too. So we're like, where's the book? Where's this? Where's that? That's what my sure. I don't know if you could hear me. I was like, I wasn't looking at that book. I was looking at the other one. You know? We're already like, you know, last year we were like totally traumatized trying to do the 2023 taxes, you know, all through 24. You know, it was just a wild experience because, you know, we had different sponsors and we had different partners, and so money came from a lot of different directions, right? And I was a sole proprietor. And of course, I'm Arnie Tex, right? And some of that money was Arnie Tex money, but we also had American Pitmaster Company, and they were all both in one account, right? And then I had, savings. Some of it we would move over, and then we have our personal account, and some of that money would come to my personal account because the company didn't want a company name; they wanted my personal information, and so it was just like a mess, right? And we were so busy recording videos that we couldn't keep up with that. And we got QuickBooks for the first time, so there we are trying to do QuickBooks. Me and my wife are like, and then the categories and whatever, and we're like, we're too busy. Finally, the accountant said, you need to do an extension. I said, I don't want to do an extension. I just want to pay it and be done with it, and whatever it is. And so then we went, and they're like, you owe this much. I was like, oh, give me an extension. Oh, no way. I want to do that.
Give me an extension.
We got to figure this out. That's not right. You didn't even make that much. How can it be that much? And so I kind of freaked out. And sure enough, I had made some mistakes.
Well, man, you have a lot of congratulations going on right now, man. I mean, you go ahead.
Thank you. Tell them all. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate all of you guys. I think I need to shrink my screen down a little so I can see some of that. I had it all blown up because I'm on the little MacBook Air.
No, you're good. I mean, you got the book going, which is killing it right now. Then you just got your 1 million subscriber. How does that feel?
Yeah, man. This is so wild how it all just kind of like came together at one time.
At the same time.
We were trying to hit that million before the end of the year. Well, I shouldn't say we were trying. We wanted to, but we were so busy finishing the book that we didn't have time. We really, really fell off on YouTube last year, especially the last half of the year. A lot of it being my fault because I'm kind of ADD, I'm like 100 miles an hour. It's really hard for me to sit down and type out a recipe, right? So I got behind on that. And then when push comes to shove, I do work really good under pressure when my son's like, if you don't get it done by this time, Dad, you ain't going to have a book.
Setting deadlines. Yeah.
So here I go. Boom, boom. And man, I'd sit there every day, man, all day and type and fall asleep and wake up and do it again. And I'd go outside and chase the dog a little bit so I could wake up and come back in. But thank God we got it done. And then there was a lot of revisions, right? A lot of revisions because I speak one way, and the people up in the publisher offices speak different. And so some of the lingo and the words we use is not the way they understand it. So they were also trying to get us to change the wording. And I'm like, no, this is my book. This is the way I talk. You need to write it the way I talk, right? And so we go back and forth, and I honestly have to say, looking at all the last stuff here in the last couple of weeks, they did an awesome job, man. Now when I read their stuff, I'm like, it's way better than what I wrote. Says the same thing, right? But it's just worded better. I still got to keep my lingo here and there, but they explained it in a much shorter, concise way. I tend to ramble like I'm doing right now and just talk, right? But and that's the way I write, So they condensed it all and made it really effective. I guess that's the right word.
So it was like a 13-month process of writing the book?
It was, man.
Really?
Mainly not that it would take that long necessarily to make 100 recipes, but when you're busy recording and trying to manage the rub company and 2 distributors and emails and messages and, just life in general. Oh, I got a doctor visit. Oh, I got this. The dog's sick. It's just, we're normal people, man. We have a normal life, on top of all the social media work and videos and stuff. We're just regular folks. We're nobody special. We got all the same little things that everybody else has, And so that's what made it tough, that we were just really busy doing recordings and, making videos. And it's just something that we weren't planning, it was, we honestly started to do the whole YouTube thing. We already had started in 16, 17, like I said, but we weren't really pursuing a YouTube thing, right? We were just mainly in the competition world, mainly all barbecue. And then we launched our Pitmaster class in 2019 because we were kind of like, had been all over Texas 2 or 3 times already. And so the crowd got smaller, and it wasn't worth driving to Lubbock again for 5 people, right? And so my son came up with that idea too. He was, that's his background, like I said, and he was still in college. He was, Dad, why don't we make an online class? And I was like, I don't know, man. How do you do that or whatever? And he knew how to put it all together. And so right in the middle of that, his job moved him and his wife to go finish college, got moved to San Antonio to the university. And then for whatever reason, she didn't go that year. So they spent a year in San Antonio. But both of my kids left San Antonio, my daughter too. They lived together. So I had to learn how to use the cameras, and I didn't know how to use cameras, so I was like just telephone guy, right? Like everybody. So I went and bought a camera and a lens, and started learning how to use that. And I learned it all on YouTube, man. Little here, little there, little here, little. And then so we would record a little bit, and my daughter would edit it, and my son would kind of help us make the scripts and the outlines and stuff. And my daughter would edit it, and we would shoot, and they would edit. So that took us like 6 or 8 months to put that class together, recording a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. And we finally got that done. But yeah, and so I forgot where I was going with this story, but y'all reel me back in if you need to.
No.
I forget where I'm going or why I'm talking about that, but too many things on my brain. I got a friend, Larry Spruce. He says I worked with him in the eBay business back in 15, I think it was, and helping him out. And he's like, "Damn, Arnie, you forget shit. You got too much." He goes, "You got too much smoke in your brain, man." That was funny. I really had a good time working with Larry. He's hilarious, man.
No, that's awesome, man. It's a beautiful book, man. I can't wait for it to come out. So
yeah. Oh, I remember now. The question was about the 13 months. We just had a lot going on.
Okay.
That's kind of how our life has run. Just like going 100 miles an hour for the last several years now, even before the book. But yeah, thank you for that, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you for taking those images of my book, man. It's really, really awesome. I have to say, honestly, I'm not real happy with the fajita part of that picture. I wanted it to be more crisp and pretty and whatever. And when they sent us that original sample, I thought that's what it was, just the sample, right? And then just literally like 2 weeks ago, I told my son, "Aren't they going to fix the fajita?" And he goes, "That was it. You've had a whole month to fix that. Too late now." Like, oh.
That's a competition part in you, Arnie. You're
I guess. I don't know.
You're critiquing your work.
Probably too picky, man.
But yeah, man, you hit number one on the Amazon bestseller.
That's wild, man.
That's awesome.
Right on, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Thank you to everybody, all the support, man. My family, my brothers, my sisters, my cousins, all of you guys that are out there in social media, people that know me that I don't know yet. We appreciate all y'all's supporting us and promoting our book and all the pre-orders. It just kind of blew us away. Like when we started that first video about the pre-orders and stuff, 2 days later, the publisher emailed me and my son, and he's like, "Wow, man, we're off to a really good start." He goes, "This is kind of above average. So, man, this is looking good." So we're like, "Yes, thank you, Lord." Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Pretty wild ride, man. A lot of recipes in there. We started with 164 recipes, and we had a few more kind of we were talking about, and then the publisher's like, "No, that's too many. You got to back it down, man." And he's like, "The book has to be a certain size. We got to have a certain ratio of pictures, and you got to have written recipes. That takes up space, and all that other stuff that goes into books, right?" It seemed real easy at the time, when I said, "Yeah, let's write a book," right? But it's definitely work. I would definitely say it's work. When you're not a techie person or a recipe person, which I'm not usually a recipe follower, right? I mean, I just cook. I see stuff and I'm like, okay, I want to make that, and I'll make it, right? Or I'll look at a recipe and just kind of tweak it to myself, without looking at the recipe again. And like my wife, she'll follow a recipe, to a T. She has to follow it to a T. And then she'll be like, "Oh, it's not that good. Let me fix it for you." Okay. And then boom, it's good, right? Yeah. Even my mom does that now. She's like, "I made some menudo, or I made this, that. I don't know. It needs something. Le falta algo." I go, "Let me fix it for you, and so I'll fix it." Yeah. And it's just that, I think, comes from the competition world too, the taste. Right. How do you say test? I call it test and tune, where you tweak the recipe, and you taste and you taste and you taste. And we used to always have friends and family test, or taste for us. When I was a car dealer, working at a car dealership, and I was the manager, I had a bunch of salespeople. We had 12 salespeople, and we'd cook every day. And I would do 3 batches of stuff, and I'd tell them, "All right, 1, 2, 3, give me scores," and so we were all cooking, man, all the time. And so
judges like at your tip of your fingers.
Say again?
Yeah, the judges at the tip of your fingers.
Right on. And honestly, that helps a lot, because you're it's kind of the same as it used to be judges, and still is, I think, just regular people, right? Just And I
Yeah.
always say in our clubs, I tell people, if it tastes good, it's going to score good. I don't care what you do to it or how much you do to it. If it don't taste good, it's not going to get a good score no matter what. It has to taste good with that first bite, you
Right.
know.
Yep.
And so I've kind of always stuck to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Who was your influence for us to start making content, Arnie? Videos?
Um, you
Or
know,
did you just something that you just started doing?
I think we just kind of started it sort of. I don't know that there was anybody in particular at that time that I like really looked up to as a video creator. But if I was gonna pick somebody, I'm gonna say one of the first guys doing it was Cosmos. He was kind of the first guy. I still consider Darren as like one of my heroes. Just because
Right.
he started that whole comp thing, and Busca did too. But Cosmos took it to a more personal level and made a business by doing the YouTube videos first and by doing content first, and just he's just got a cool personality too. He's a fun guy. I've met him a couple of times. He's just a fun person to be around. And so I remember watching him and being like, man, I want to be like that guy. At some point. And he's just a cool dude. If I was going to point anybody out, it'd be him. But I was, of course, influenced in a way by watching people like Tuffy Stone and Myron and all those guys, Pitmasters, all that. I mean, all those guys. I mean, they're huge, and they're kind of my heroes too, in the sense that they were big names, still are, right? They're big
Right.
names, and they were the first guys to kind of be on a national TV level. Took barbecue to
To
a
that level.
much higher level than a lot of us had ever known it before, um, and TV and everything, and so all those guys, were something that I kind of aspired to be someday in my life, and I think, as far as us getting into YouTube, that had more to do with the spices when we came up with a wow during COVID. We had made a few YouTube videos, but it wasn't really, we weren't taking it that serious. I was more of a Facebook guy and a little bit of IG. And because when we were competing, we would always post our results whether we'd win or not. A lot of guys would never post when they lose, right? But
Right.
when they win, they do. And so I would post exactly whatever I did or didn't do. I mean, it's just, for fun. For me, it was always fun. And so we already had a pretty good following on Facebook. And then we came up with a wow. And really, it was just to promote the wow when we first started doing a little more serious YouTube videos, barbecuing outside on the grills and stuff, using that product. And then later we decided to put out the OG because it was something that I use here at home all the time. I
Right.
had been using it forever, and I told Terry, I think people will like the OG too. And I've tried every OG on the market, probably from one coast to the other, north to south, and I just never felt like anybody had a really good OG. And I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying it wasn't my preference, right? A lot of them are big granules, and some are smaller, mixed with big, and it just kind of like never flowed really good. You know how they just don't blend well when they're like that. A lot of them had sugar or other stuff, so they were not true SPGs, in my opinion. And so I wanted to have just a real, true, basic salt, pepper, garlic that, like, I use at home, and I felt like people would want to use it at home too. And we put that out, and sure enough, man, it took off. And it's actually our flagship product now. It outsells Wow. Like by about 20% every month, sometimes 30.
Well,
Uh, so that's super interesting because it's a very simple, basic rub, but it's good on everything, and I guess that's why people like it, right?
yeah. Yeah. And the
Absolutely.
brisket rub, when did that one come out?
And that came out. It took us a whole year of samples on that, year and a half. That was actually the first rub I tried to get out since like way back in 2017. And I went to the co-packer and they sent me a couple samples, and I wasn't real happy with them. I'm like, okay, well, let's go back and do it again. And then we just kind of got away from it when we started doing the classes, and I was selling a lot of brisket rub. I'd make it at home. I'd make 5, 8, 10, 15 pounds at a time, and I'd sell it to a lot of competition teams. And they did well with it, so I'd keep making it and selling it and shipping it. And but when we decided to pack it in a shaker, I didn't like the samples I was getting, so I had to tweak it up and down a few times. And I backed out the salt a little so there would be a little more bark color on it as well. Um, And when it came back, finally, it took like a little over a year, like I was saying, to get a sample that we really, really liked. And I was like, this is good. It's better than even I thought it was going to be. And so I told Fiesta, they're our co-packer, I said, send me another sample. If it's the same as the first one, we'll run with it. And the second sample was really good. And so we went ahead and packed that too. And I want to say that came out early last year in 24.
Right.
Or less. And, it doesn't sell as much as the other two simply because it says brisket on the label, right? And what's wild is that we use it on a lot of stuff. It's especially good on chicken, on burgers. I love to put it on my pork ribs with a little coat of wow too, and of course it's good on beef ribs. So it's good on everything, but because it says brisket, it doesn't sell as much. So we've been contemplating changing the name and just put some other kind of all-purpose name on it and tell people that it's great on brisket too, or something like that. So that's something that's in the works too. We haven't ordered a label or come up with a label design yet, but that's kind of something we're probably going to do because honestly, we just feel like people are missing out on that flavor because it's really a great flavor.
Right. You ever thought about getting into the sauce game?
Yes, I have. I mean, if you guys watch my channel, I'm not a real big sauce guy, because a lot of our culture doesn't use barbecue sauce. A lot of our recipes don't call for it. But I do like barbecue sauce personally, and I love to put it on the side with my ribs. I'll even glaze the ribs. And when I eat brisket, I almost always have a little sauce on the side too. I'll always eat a little bit of brisket without it, and then I'll start to eat some with the sauce. That's just me. But I did all the research on the sauce and stuff. I also did the research on the salsas, and it just seemed at the time, and I'm going back 4 or 5 years. At the time, the margins just looked like a little too narrow for me versus investment. Right. And I just felt like the distribution to be able to make a reasonable profit, it really had to have a good distribution network. I mean, you really got to be in some chain stores to make that work. And then I read some stories online, talked to a couple people that were in that business, and some of them got burned by the big stores because now the way they do it, it's like, okay, we're going to buy all this product. If it doesn't sell in this amount of time, it's still yours. You're going to have to pay it back, or we don't pay you unless it sells or whatever, right? So that kind of scared me out of the sauce and salsa game. But now that, we've got these, we've got a much bigger following and thankfully a little bit of, capital. I do think I'd like to get something like that out.
Nice.
Probably won't be anytime super soon, but it may be by the end of this year, hopefully, either a sauce or a salsa. I want to get a hot sauce, because everybody uses hot sauce, right? And so I really would like to get a hot sauce out on the market first, because that's something I use every day, right? I make all my salsas, but like
it's a little unique also. It's a little unique to be able to do a hot sauce. You have, it seems like everybody's making barbecue sauces these days, but know.
Yeah. So. And there's a lot of great ones out there too, and then there's the other consideration is shelf life, right? I'm not real sure how long shelf life on sauces is versus rubs. Rubs are good 2 or 3 years, no problem, as long as they're, in an enclosed environment or a house or whatever. But sauces, I don't know. I think they have a shorter shelf life, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So one of my questions on one of your lives, and I don't think Dan put it up, but it was there any barbecue sauces in the book?
No, there is not any barbecue sauces in the book.
Okay.
The book is actually more salsa heavy and home cooking, are fajitas and steaks and rice, beans, chili, carne guisada, all that stuff's in there. We didn't do a real heavy barbecue side of it. We did all the basic Texas stuff, mainly honestly because that's what our fans follow us for the most part. Most of them are more in that direction, and that's kind of the main reason we leaned the book in that direction. Obviously, it seems like a good business decision because we feel like it'll sell more that way. But I've been threatening already, and my son's kind of rolling his eyes and saying, I'm threatening book 2, and it's going to be more already barbecue, fire centric, And so we'll see what happens, man. Let's get this one off to a good start first, and then we'll talk about that later.
Well, one of my go-to sauces is your coffee sauce in the brisket class.
Yeah, that's a good one, man.
Dude, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome,
it's a
man.
good sauce.
Whenever I'm
And I
gonna do
got
something, cook a brisket or something, and if I'm gonna, sell to somebody or something, and I'll always make a batch of that, and that's what I would pass out. So it's a
and it's
damn
pretty
good sauce.
simple, but it's
Yeah.
good. And I got that one from my wife's brother-in-law. He lived in Kansas City for a long time. He was produce inspector or something like that.
Mhm.
And so he lived up there for a long time, and he's kind of one of my big influences as far as cooking big meats and stuff like that before we were even doing competition. But he used to barbecue a lot, and he gave me that barbecue. That was like his secret sauce, man. And before I put that out there, I asked him. I said, "Do you mind if I share this with some of my folks in the barbecue club?" He's like, "Go ahead, man. I don't use it anymore." He's totally retired, right? He doesn't cook at all. But yeah, he's gotten older. But yeah, that was his, and it was real simple, and it's just been a really good sauce for a long time.
And
He made the first time I ever had smoked turkey was in uh, Kansas City, Missouri. And we went up there for Thanksgiving. My kids were real little at the time, like a year and 3 or a year and 5 or something like that. And he cooked them on a Weber bullet. He cooked the turkey on a Weber bullet, just using pecan shells, And I was like, "Holy cow, man! I never had a smoked brisket in my life." I was blown away, man. So after that, I'm like, I'm gonna learn how to smoke, man. I'm gonna make turkeys, right? And grandmas are always so cool, grandmothers and mothers. So I smoked my first turkey for Thanksgiving the next year, and my grandma comes over, and I was like, when you're starting out, you always like over smoke everything, right?
Yeah.
You think it's great, right? And so I remember I had already done it a couple times. I was like, "Oh man, it's way too smoky." And my grandma was like, "No, mijo, está bien sabroso. It's very good." Like, "Thank you, grandma." I thought it was way over smoked, but yeah, from there we just kind of started, and then we started competing, and we just kind of got better with a lot of practice and a lot of trial and error.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, that sauce is I mean, I would consider that a Texas sauce. I mean, it's
Yeah, I would say so,
straight up.
too.
It's straight up, man. It's
Very
straight
basic.
up. So
Yeah. Yep.
easy to make.
So,
that-
what's your favorite sauce base? Would it be vinegar? Would it be tomato or mustard? Or
I'm gonna say a tomato and vinegar together. I think you got to have that combination here in Texas, at least, right? Where we're not a super sweet, or I should say, we didn't used to be a super sweet state when it came to barbecue sauce. Now I think everybody's kind of gotten used to the sweet sauce, especially in competitions, right? I mean, if you ain't saucing, you're not walking. That's just the bottom line, man. I remember years and years back, man, when I first started to compete, and my wife's sister lives in Haslett up there north of Fort Worth, and we'd go hang out with them once or twice a year. And my brother-in-law, he bought a little smoker from me, and so we'd barbecue when we were up there. And he turned me on to Head Country way back in the day, and I remember distinctly telling him, "This shit sucks, man. It tastes like liquid smoke, right?" And fast forward a bunch of years, and we're all using Head Country on everything, right?
still are.
It's a freaking damn good sauce, man. But I don't know, for whatever reason at the time, I was just a newbie too, kind of getting into the game. I just thought it was horrible because it had, liquid smoke or whatever. And I used to buy several sauces at the store, and I'd blend them, to come up with the flavor I wanted. Nowadays, you don't have to do it quite so much. I still did it there in competition, even down to the end, blend a little bit. But man, there's so many good ones out there now. Even on the shelf or online, there's a lot of great barbecue sauces. There's one, I want to say it's up in Lufkin, Texas, or somewhere up there. I'm trying to think. It's he's got the little train cart as his logo.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. God dang,
Smoke this.
I don't know if it's that one. That doesn't ring a bell. Anyway, he sells it in bottles still, and he sent me some samples a couple years ago, and I was like, "Dude, this is good, man. Really." That is probably my favorite all-time barbecue sauce right now. I'll try to think of it here in a minute and share it with you guys. But that is my favorite Texas-style sauce, bar none. It's just got the right balance, got the little vinegar, and he makes 3 of them now. But it has just the right amount of vinegar and ketchup and sweet. It's not none of those like overpowered. Just a really, in my opinion, a very well balanced sauce. And he's got a vinegar one too, which is vinegar heavy, kind of like Blues Hog has their Tennessee Red.
Right,
He's got
right.
one similar to that. But yeah, that's my. I'm trying to think. Boxcar Barbecue. That's what it is.
Okay.
Boxcar Barbecue. Yeah,
Nice.
look them up.
Yeah, we'll
They've got
look 'em
some
up for sure.
really, really good barbecue sauce, man. I love that stuff.
Nice. Now everybody's gonna start using that.
Yep. The secret's out.
The secret's out.
Yeah, he sent me a couple bottles, like I said, and I went through them, and then I ordered the big 32 ounce, all of them, and it took me a while to go through them, but I went through them and I ordered again, and I always keep at least one bottle of that here at the house.
Nice.
Always, man.
That's
It's good
awesome, man.
stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what
you heard
advice
it here first. I've never shared
Yeah.
this with anybody.
for sure. For sure. All 20,000 people watching right now. So.
That's okay. I'm not in the game right now, so good luck.
So what advice would you give somebody who's first time even thinking about getting into a competition? Like they know they think they have good food or whatever, and they see Arnie Tex at HEB. What do you tell somebody?
First thing I'm going to say is take the Arnie Tex barbecue class, the
Right.
class.
Steps ahead.
Yeah.
Nice plug.
And if you don't, take somebody's class, right? Because honestly, the bar is so high right now, and everybody that is winning has taken classes. I mean,
Right.
I say classes plural, because I know several guys that took my class back when we were doing a lot of them. They took several classes. And they got that way taking classes. That is what has helped them elevate their game. We taught a bunch of people, and they went and took what we showed them and made it even better, right? In some cases, and sometimes you got to have that knack, but really you got to learn. There's two ways to do it, and one of them is through classes, and the other one is you got to cook a brisket every week, Papa, or every other week, and just tweak and tweak and tweak, and that can get very expensive too. Excuse me. Excuse me. Give me a second.
Kevin. What was the name again?
Kevin's already hitting it up.
My throat gets dry when I talk too much. That's another reason it took me a long time to get the brisket rub out, because when you go, and during this era, right, after COVID and stuff, briskets were 80, 90, $100, right?
Yeah.
And so all I'm going to do is test this rub, and we're going to eat, a few slices and then vacuum pack it or give it away, right? And then next month I'm going to do it again. You can only eat so much of it, right? Especially when you're cooking as much as we do. And so, yeah, it can get expensive, man. So I always tell people, take a class and make sure you practice, make sure you learn how to brine and try injections and good meats, man, good quality meats, and try to get mentored by somebody if you have another local friend that cooks. That's always dangerous too, because next thing you know, they're beating you, and then you get mad. I have some friends like that. I helped them out, and then they wound up whooping my butt, and they didn't even take the class, right? So I'm like, dude, that also goes to show how some people have that knack. Some people have that skill. We all have a skill, a knack, a talent, a gift, whatever you want to call it, that God gives us. And some people have it, man. Some people have it. And I know there's a couple friends that I shared a few brisket tips with and a few other things. And next thing I know, man, I'm like grand champion, and they're like right here reserve. I'm like, hey, dude, what's going on here? Don't park next to me no more, man. But no, I'm just kidding. I never treat nobody like that. But it makes you be a little more careful what you say and how you say it. But we always helped people. I always told my wife it was good karma when we did our first classes. I was the only guy who ever gave written recipes with exact measurements. I don't think anybody else has even done it ever since then. But I remember Aaron Leslie came from all the way over there, and he called me. He's like, hey, man, I got a lot of stuff going on. Do you have it in writing? Yes, sir. I'm going to give you notes in writing, exact recipes. Are you sure? Yes, sir. And he literally showed up late the next day after we were pretty much done cooking, and all he wanted was the notes. Because he's a good cook already. You're a good cook. You just need a good recipe too. And so yeah, that was funny, man. I had one guy, Kelly Curtis. He went on to become a really great cook too, and he took several classes, not just mine. But He was in Hawaii on vacation, man. I announced my class. It was 2 weeks away or something like that. He goes, God dang, man, I'm up here, supposed to be here for a month. I'm going to have to leave early just to go to your class. I go, well, you don't have to come, bro. He goes, I'm going to go. Where do I pay? And he showed up, man. He was a funny, hilarious, super nice guy, man. I loved Kelly. He was a really cool dude. Yeah, just a nice guy, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think pretty much all of us use Aaron's stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good cook.
Yeah.
He's a good teacher too, man. A good mentor.
I think for me, honestly, one of the things that stood out about I think it was I can't remember the exact words you said, but it was along the lines of when it comes to competition cooking, your mindset.
It's
got to be a lot of it has to do with having a positive mindset,
Yep.
not being cocky or overconfident, but yet you can't be intimidated.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, because I would hear that, after we became real successful, people would say, I'd pull up and they'd be like, oh, shit, we might as well go home. Arnie's here or whatever. But you can't think like that. You can't, and they say it jokingly, right? But pretty much if I showed up, I had a shot at it, right? And not that we won every time, because we didn't. We certainly did not. But, we had a good track record. And so people start thinking that way. And so that's kind of one of the first things I tell people. It is a mindset. You don't show up to a competition, thinking you might not win. You have to go in there with a strong mindset saying, I can win this. And that's a big, big part of any sport. I don't care what the sport is, you have to go in there with a positive attitude and with a mindset that you want to win and that you can win.
So I've got something, Arnie. We're trying to get introduce this new little segment, and we're calling it your dream team.
Mm-hmm.
So what it is, you get 4 people, and then you get a box runner.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's whatever you're thinking right now, hold on to that thought. So what our kind of process is it can be like your Mount Rushmore with an honorable mention, or it can be 4 guys you want to build a team to go try to win the Royal with a box runner, or 4 guys in a box runner that you want to cook with.
Mm-hmm.
So just whatever came to your mind when I said dream team. Well, who would be your dream team?
Good question. Not too hard either, man. I don't know they want to be on my team. I would sure as hell select them. Number 1 would be Fred Robles. number 2 would be Hector Villanueva, and the Killer Reese. He's a damn good brisket cook too, man. And then I'd sure get Chicken Fried and Lucky Charms in my team too.
There you go. That's a dream team.
Man. They're all heavy hitters, man. They're all heavy hitters.
That's true. Let's see what else.
You still got a box runner, right?
I was saying you got your honorable
and then I got a box
runner. Yep.
Yeah.
For a box runner, who'd I get for a box runner? Shoot. Man, I don't know. They might be offended, if you call somebody a box runner.
That's how we put it out there.
Let me think about that one.
That's awesome.
Don't worry, I fired Serge from being my box runner and hired.
Hell yeah, I'll get fired from that job. Oh shit, man.
Yeah. We never went to the American Royal. I always wanted to go, and for whatever reason, we were just always conflicted out of something, And maybe this year we'll get a chance to go, hopefully.
I think if you went to the Royal, you'd have a crowd. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, we always qualified. I just was never able to go for one reason or the other. I don't even remember. It was always something else going on. And this last year, and I always had invitations, even when I wasn't going to go cook, but people would invite me and to help them or to hang out or whatever. But this year it was the book. The book's what got in the way.
So I got I guess you would say off-topic question for you.
Okay.
I know you're always posting all the kind of stuff about the made-in pans and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and my kids got me the skillet, the big rectangle skillet for my birthday, and we go back and forth. I really like carbon steel. I quit using cast iron. I prefer carbon steel.
Yeah.
What do you think is better, carbon steel or stainless steel?
They're both good. I mean, they're both good. It just depends on what you cook the most and most often. In my opinion. I use the stainless a lot more, and I love carbon steel, and I still love my cast iron too. I just don't use it as often because it's so dang heavy, you know.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
that's the advantage carbon steel has, is that it's light and it does pretty much the same job. But I use stainless more simply because it's just less work to clean it and be done with it. You know, the
Yeah.
carbon steel is just like the cast iron. You got to make sure you clean it good and make sure you heat it up, put a little oil in there again, you know, and keep it, you know, ready to go for next time. That's probably the only reason I use the stainless more than anything. But that griddle, dude, that thing's awesome, man. We use it all the time. We keep it on our stove sometimes. Sometimes we don't, just because it's a little bit big. But you know, we when we're gonna have a long weekend and a lot of cooking, we'll just leave it on the stove.
I really like the carbon steel better than the cast iron because I feel like the cast iron will soak up some of the flavors and keep the flavors in there, where my carbon steel doesn't seem to do that, right? It'll just burn off the flavors or whatever.
Right
I
on.
won't have, you know, some of those rich flavors stuck in the pan. So
Yeah,
whenever I go
interesting.
to cook something else, it doesn't taste like the cooked before it, you know.
Right.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, you know, I never thought about that. I don't know that I've ever experienced that, but could be, could be.
Yeah,
Yep.
I do most of really all of my stuff on cast iron, so I still
Mhm.
use all my cast iron stuff.
Yeah, I used to use a lot of cast iron way back in the day. We used to cook a lot, outdoors type stuff, and there's a couple of cook-offs here in South Texas that, you know, we would do a lot of Dutch oven stuff. But then when we got into the competition circuit, we just kind of got away from almost everything, you know, and it was just basically smoking barbecue. And but yeah, I still have a lot of my old cast irons, and you know, sometimes if I go to a flea market or whatever and I see a really
You see
cool and I buy it, my wife's like, "You don't need another pan." Who says I need it? I just want it. About 6, 8 months ago, we were at a local flea market, and I've been wanting to do a carnitas video, and so this guy had a bunch of copper pots, right? And I said, I'll come back and get one on the way out, you know. And then we saw another place on the other side of the flea market, and I wound up buying it from this old lady. It was a little more heavy than the first one I had seen. And she told me, you know, you got to be careful because some of them have other metals and they're made in China and blah, blah, blah. I said, all right, cool. So I paid her $300 for that pot and came home, and I didn't use it for 2, 3 months. We were just so busy and didn't have time to practice, you know, carnitas or nothing. And so I went and got it out of the shed, and it was all discolored and whatever. And I'm like, oh, well, it's just been sitting there. So I YouTubed, you know, how to clean it up and whatever. And everybody's like, use the lemon and salt and blah, blah, blah. And so I did all that, and it looked pretty for about 30 minutes. And then it started to get discolored again. And I was like, maybe I didn't do this right. So I did it again a couple of days later. Same thing. So because of that and because of what she told me, I don't know if it's got lead or whatever. So it's hanging in my porch, unused ever yet.
It's that
And,
pulga equipment.
Yes. You want to get me one because, right? And so I've been wanting to sell that, you know, on what's it called, offer up. But I kind of feel guilty if I'm selling somebody something that's not a real, you know, copper pot, right? So
Just autograph it. Just autograph it.
Still hanging there.
Yeah. Just autograph it. That'll be fine.
Yeah, that'd be okay. Yeah.
So any in-person classes coming up? Or you got any plans for that?
You know, we don't have plans for it. Our online class really, I tell people, you know, when I get messages about that, it's just really a lot more thorough. There's a lot more step-by-step information there, and you know, 3 different camera angles, pretty much for everything. And you know, it just has a lot more information than I can give in a 1 day or even a weekend class. So we direct people towards that more than anything. And we hadn't planned in-person classes mainly last 2 years. We were just blowing and going, so busy, right? And we did do in 23, we did a steak class at Pro Pitch for the High Stakes Cook-Off, which is, you know, one of the biggest steak cook-offs in Texas. And so we did it just mainly to give our local boys a better chance, you know, because everybody comes from up north, you know, and always takes the glory. And so we did that to try to help out some local guys. Sure enough, local guys won. But other than that, in-person class, I haven't done any. And this year, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe doing some, but more just like backyard meet and greet. Let's hang out
Right.
and burn some
Right.
meat and hang out,
Right on.
have some. Not so much competition. I honestly don't know if I'm still in the game, recipe wise, product wise. A lot of new stuff's come out in the last 2-3 years. Um, but I will say this: I was going to go to the San Antonio Rodeo last year, and so I bought somebody's class, that wins a lot. I'm going to leave the name out. Um, and so I looked at it and I was like, that person took my class, and I was like, damn, he doesn't have half of the stuff that I put in there. I felt like there was a lot left out, like it wasn't the real deal. So maybe my class is still better than some. So I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Just I thought.
Yeah.
Well, the
Not
link's
throwing
right there.
the
So
rocks. I'm just saying that the basics, again, we're talking about skill level and knack, talent, whatever we want to call it. Because we did have a lot of people that took the class that never really won anything. And then, like I said, some you give them a little bit and they go on a tear,
go.
right?
Right.
And so I think the basics of everything is there, and from there you have to make it your own. Uh, on our brisket masterclass that you have, Serge, we do get a lot of messages and a lot of comments on the ad of people that have taken it and are blown away at how much details in there and how much
Yeah,
information.
super.
And that's kind of how the comp classes are. We kind of went overboard with everything, and there's nothing in there that I don't wasn't using or that I don't think was a part of a winning thing. And then if you get on the Pitmaster class on Facebook in the private class page, I also, as I was still competing at the time, whatever new changes or tweaks I made, I was also sharing there in PDFs. So that's still
Nice.
there too. But I haven't really competed in much in the last 3 years, so there's not a whole lot of new stuff there. The page doesn't get a lot of action because I'm not in there a lot, even myself. Because we're so busy doing this other two businesses that are,
Right.
keeping us busy as heck.
Well, what I like about that brisket class is, I mean, you can always go back to it, right? You just got to log in,
Yes.
and then
That's the other advantage, yes. Even on the comp class, that there's so much information there, and you can come back and tweak it and rewind, check your notes, make sure you wrote it right. That was something I used to run into when we were doing in-person competition classes at first, and I had one guy, he called me and he's from Central Texas. He's like, "Hey man, this pork rub's too salty, man. What the heck, man?" And I was like, "Well, tell me what you're doing." I followed your recipe exactly. It's in writing. I go, "Well, tell me what you're doing. Read it off to me." He goes, "Well, I rewrote it on my handwriting and it's blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "You got a tablespoon of salt, bro. It doesn't call for a tablespoon of salt." "Yes, it does. I got your recipe right here." "Oh, no, it doesn't." So, it's just funny, how when you're in an in-person class, we have a timeline, we're cooking all 3 or 4 meats. And so it's like boom, 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 boom. And they're trying to listen and write at the same time.
right.
It's just really, really, really hard to be accurate that way. Whereas online, you can rewind and look at it as many times as you want.
That's awesome.
So I don't know. I mean, again, I told you I start to ramble a lot, so reel me back in. But maybe we'll do some fun classes like that. In 23, we did at the beginning in April, we did a Made for Fire event. We called it. That's because that's kind of my slogan, right? Made for Fire. It's trademarked, by the way. And so we did cabritos and whole hogs. We did carnitas. We did a bunch of fun stuff. Recorded it all. It was for some show that was based out of San Antonio. I forget the name already, but so we were doing it for them in conjunction with our deal, and it was a lot of fun. And then we just got so busy. We had kept talking about doing it again later in the year, and then doing it again in 24, and we just like never had time to really put it together and get it done. So maybe this year, hopefully, we'll do that. And in my fantasy, I'm going to hook up my stick burner and just go around and different towns and meet people and have fun and drink a couple of beers and cook some meat. But that's probably not going to happen like that. Dan's going to be like, "Whoa, Dad, stop.
Reel you back in.
Quit dreaming."
You're not retired yet, Arnie.
Yeah.
Nah,
When I
it
got
still
the
could've
stick
been,
burner
yeah.
excuse me, when I got the stick burner from Lone Star, that was why I ordered it, because I was going to go to the meat markets and do demos and stuff like that. But I had ordered it in early 23, I think January or December, the year before. And so we talked and talked. Finally, we got the measurements, everything the way I wanted. And, it took 10 months to get it, right?
Yeah,
So by then we were already like video mode, right? And by then I had two distributors, and they were taking care of the route that I had developed and making new routes too. And so we just, there it sits, and there it sits. And I feel bad because I really wanted to use that thing a lot. And so I'm hoping in 25, I'm gonna do a lot more stick burner videos too.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
So why Lone Star? Just asking. I'm just asking because I have a Lone Star also.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I was about to say, Serge, come on, tell like it is, bro.
Yeah. Honestly, there's a lot of really good ones out there. I'm not gonna say one's better than the other, but I'll say this: my dad was a welder, and so I grew up around that too, and so I'm very familiar with quality welding, fit, finish, all that sort of stuff, fabrication.
Mhm.
I'm nowhere near as good as my dad was. I'm definitely nowhere in the ballpark of professionals or anything like that. It was just a hobby for me, following my dad around, right, and then afterward, and. But I've cooked on several other brands here that are made here in Texas, and there's some really good ones. Pretty much all of them, honestly, except some of the new ones that have come out recently in the last few years. But I mean, I've cooked on several of them, and most of them cook pretty good. Um, but when I was doing a class in Spring, Texas, with Texas Ugly Drum Smokers with Stephen Powell,
Right.
I was already looking for a stick burner because I had sold the other one I had, and I missed it, and I was like, man, I gotta have a stick burner. What kind of barbecue guy don't have a damn stick burner? That's what's going on in my head, right? And so I showed up to Stephen Powell's house to do a class, and there sat this beautiful 24 by 48 Lone Star grills, and I had been looking at them online, that particular model, right? Yep. And so I said, hey, Steve, man, that's a really nice pit. I'm glad you have it because I've been looking at it online. He goes, you want to buy it? And I was like, yeah, man, how much you want for it? I already knew how much they were, right? He goes, give me $1,000. You can have it. And everybody was standing there listening, right? There was like 20 some guys there. And I was like, shit, here. I was like, before he changes his mind and before somebody else beats me to it, right? I said, here's $1,000. It's mine. So I bought it from him. And then all the guys that were there helped me load it up in the back of my truck. We strapped it down and brought it home. But yeah, that's how I got that. So when I used that one and I got to look at it really close in person, I mean, the fit, the finish, the quality, I mean, it was just like nice. Everything's like so nicely done. And I'm not saying the other ones aren't. I just haven't owned them, right? I've cooked on several of them, but I have not owned them. And so I was just real happy with it. Honestly, I don't like the tuning plates. I'm not a tuning plate guy. So I eliminated them and I redirected the flow on mine. And then I put it on the trailer and I used that, for a couple of comps. And then later on I sold it. We were just cooking more. And we were doing a little bit of catering at the time too, and so I got this bigger one because I thought I was going to be doing demos and I needed more space. So he put a Santa Maria grill on for me and the 2 burners in the back and the whole big show thing, and I just honestly have not used it as much as I wanted to. But that's the reason I like the Lone Star. It's just such a nice quality, well built machine, and I'm gonna say one of my second best favorite one was gator pits. I cooked on a gator pit at a class in Houston. Mm-hmm. I mean, that thing ran like a freaking Swiss Army watch. It just like ran, dude, smooth, really, really good. I have a mill scale here too that was gifted to me by a company, by Miller Lite, and that thing runs really good too. It runs, man. You can throw big logs in it and it just runs. And my Lone Star, same thing. You just throw a log in there and set the air, and it's cruising. And the others were nice, but they're not as pretty as my Lone Star grill. It's prettier.
Yeah, for sure. What's your favorite pit? As far
I'm going to say that one. Not so much because it's a stick burner. Because I mean, I honestly, if you look at my videos, I rarely do stick burner stuff, right? But
Right.
If I want to go cook somewhere and do something, that trailer has everything on it. It's got the burners, it's got the smoker. I've got a plancha on the back over the firebox, and then I've got the smoker. So it has everything on there. It's got room to take ice chests and wood and everything. It's got a Santa Maria grill, so
it's ready
I can
to go.
grill, I can smoke, I can boil, I can do pretty much anything I want on that. Just hook it up to the truck and go. And the other way, like when I had the toy hauler and we were competing, you're loading and unloading. That's what I was saying earlier. I do not miss the part of loading, unloading, getting ready, all that stress, looking for meats, and loading and unloading. But this one, I just hook it up to the truck and let's go, man. I'm gonna, so that I would call it my favorite mainly because of that. Now, do I use that at home a lot? No. Believe it or not, the one I use the most at home is the Weber kettle. And it's just so versatile. It's just good for everything. And I had a PK that I had for a long time. And a couple of months ago, a friend of mine from Laredo, he's a helicopter pilot. And every time he comes to the valley, a couple times a year, he'll call me and we'll drink a couple beers and cook something here. He's like, man, you had a little PK, and that little grill for steaks. I go, yeah, I still got it. He goes, why don't you sell it to me? And I'm like, I don't use it a whole lot. Sure, give me a couple $100. So he gave me a couple $100. And now I'm like, shit. That was my second most used grill, right? I love that thing, And I told Terry, like, man, I missed that freaking PK, man, because it's the Weber and the PK here at home. If it's not video work, I'm just cooking for us. It's the Weber and the PK, man. And then I won a little drum in a raffle. What's those guys, the Blues Hog guys? What's the brand that they have of the drums? Gateways. Yeah, I won a little short. I had a PBC cooker too, a pit barrel cooker. Sold that a few years ago and regretted that. So I won this one on a raffle not too long ago, and so I use that one all the time too because it's just quick, it's easy. I love the drum flavors because you kind of get the grill and the smoke at the same time. They're just awesome, man. I love them.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else, guys? You got anything?
Yeah. Dude.
I can go all night, guys. You can tell I talk a lot.
Well, since these guys don't got nothing else, I got something. Arnie, fat side up, fat side down.
Both.
Both.
I remember Deion Sanders? Both. I was just thinking all the commercials. That to me, I'll share just my personal experience and preference. Forever and ever and ever, I preached hot and fast, meat side up, forever. And actually, when we got stuck in COVID, I started to cook a brisket here, and I just, for the heck of it, threw it meat fat side up. I'm going to test this fat side up thing, and it was on that Lone Star grill, the first one that I had, and it just was taking forever. And you know how some of these stick burgers, it's just placement too, where you put it on the what spot you have it on. And I guess I just didn't have my heat running fast enough. I was getting distracted off and on during the day. So I thought it was going to be dinner, and then it was 10:30 at night when I'm wrapping it, and I'm like, and so it got done about 1 a.m. I just threw it in the camera and said, screw it. So it cooked low and slow, and it was fat side up, and it was in butcher paper. And when I opened it up the next morning to slice it, it was just like, dude, man, it was like
totally different.
An Aaron Franklin brisket, one of the top kind of deals. And I was like, dude, I've never even cooked a brisket this good, and I've cooked like forever, right? But it just hit me so hard. I was like, all right, was that a fluke? Was it the meat? Was it the low and slow? So I did it a few more times, and I'm gonna tell you guys, I am now a diehard 250, 225, 250, no more than 275, fat side up, butcher paper guy. Particularly for the backyard. In comp, of course, I'm gonna do probably meat side up, but for backyard catering, it's fat side up, more or less low to medium cooking.
Right.
And that get the job done. And now that I'm older and a little bit lazier, I just stick it in the pellet grill at night.
You're trying to stay up all night, right?
Right. Sometimes, and I'll wrap it up and I'll put it in the pellet grill, or I'll just stick it in the pellet grill and leave it in there all night at 225. And honestly, I've cooked some pellet grill briskets, and people are like, Man, I love these pellet. I love these stick burner briskets. It's not a stick burner. It's from the pellet grill. No, it's not. I they call me. I'm like, no, man. I'm telling you, I cooked it on the Rectech, and so you can cook a really good brisket on pellets too. You know,
Mhm.
you know, the stick burners are a lot of fun. I enjoy them a lot, but you know, it's time. Sometimes it's just the time. I got 100 other things to be doing.
Right, right. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's the way I feel about my Lone Stars. I just throw it in there and set it and forget it. Like it just
Yeah,
sits there
pretty much.
until it's done.
Yeah. Yes,
So
sir.
Oh yeah, I love
But
your Discada videos, man. I that's where I really learned and got really interested in making Discada. I love making that Discada recipe of yours. The only
dude, it's
thing I
so
can say, man, is just the bean recipe that you had out, the charro beans, one of your recipes.
mhm.
Man, I was so excited about that one, but I've been drinking a little too much, and I messed up the beans, man.
Oh man.
Oh man, it was a bad night. People were real
Oh,
mad at me. My family was.
oh man. Just got to do it again.
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah, these
you
guys, I mean, some people get mad if you don't do it, especially my North Texas primos. If you don't do it exactly the way you do it, oh, that's not a real discada. But at the end of the day, when I was growing up, my dad made those things. I want to say he was the original maker of discos, right? But I mean, we would call it a discada, even if it was just carne guisada, or if he was doing cabrito guisado or whatever. We called all of those a discada, but that one is called a discada norteña, because they use all the ingredients, and that's one of the best ones. Flavor wise, everything turns out good. I did one the Rectech 380 the other day, and no, that was the Alambre. I did it on the Weber kettle actually with the Maiden now has a griddle also that's round that fits in the Weber kettle. And so I did it on the Weber kettle. I made another discada like that. It was good, man. Really, really good.
nice, nice. Let's see what else we got.
Can't believe I just told Arnie that I burnt the beans, bro. I'm like,
Well, at least you didn't spill them like I did. You see that one where I put in front of the
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. My favorite was your
Rice.
mom's Mexican rice video.
Oh yes, I was going to tell you all that story, man.
yes.
We were actually recording the Charro Bean video when we recorded that one, and it was just because we like beans and rice. So I went and got mom out of her room and I said, "Hey, mom, I'm doing a Charro Bean video. Can you make some rice? So we can eat rice and beans later." And she goes, "Oh, okay, mijo, sure." So she came out, and I was just, I have 3 cameras, so I just grabbed one off the tripod and went over there and just freehanded it, and asked her questions and kind of talked while she was cooking. And so Dan, my son, I said, "Hey man, I recorded grandma doing rice." "Ah, Dad, you're a barbecue guy. You don't want to know rice video, And I was like, "Just put it out there. We're just starting on YouTube, whatever, It's just to get another number, another something to keep the attention there." And he's
Content.
like, "Nah, Dad." Yeah, and he's like, "Nah, Dad. You don't. Who wants a rice video? Your fans don't follow you." I like, just put it up, man. And finally, he put it up. Right, it took another month or so, and here we are. It's our number one video, man. Blew it all away, man.
Yeah,
And
I looked
the
at
other
it.
one,
Go ahead.
the other one that Dan kind of fought me on was the bean video, the 3 stages of beans. And so he didn't want us to record that. So one day we had a little time off, and so me and Cher just recorded it. Said, "Screw it, I'm going to record it. And I'm going to give it to Dan to upload it and edit it. Have Sophie edit it." And so they did it, and boom! I think that's our second most viewed video, or it's
Wow.
right up there too. It's pretty wild.
Who would have ever thought rice and beans?
Yeah, I
Huh?
mean, who would think? Yeah, I never expected. I knew people were asking for me. They were asking me like, "Hey, how do you make refried beans?" They would ask in the comments. So that was my reason to do that video. But I never expected it to take off that big. So it's just been a wild ride.
Nice, nice. Would you turn those in a comp? Those beans?
Probably not refried. And the chowder beans,
chowder beans.
Yeah, I think you could get away with those. They really do have a lot of great flavor. I would probably tweak it a little bit different, but yeah, you could definitely do it. And especially if it's an event where, nothing larger than the bean kind of deal. I mean, anything goes. Um, I mean, we cooked all over the state, and sometimes we always did good with beans, just a basic bean, not even a chowder bean. And but sometimes, like in Houston and in DFW, a little north of Austin area, it's just a different flavor. They liked, like ranch style beans with a lot of chili powder and stuff. And I was kind of surprised. That was back when you could taste the product. During the old IBCA days, you could taste the winning trays and the winning cups and all that stuff. And so sometimes I'd be kind of surprised for one, but it just goes to show different regions, different preferences, right?
Wow.
And we won beans one time at a local country cook-off, and just share this with you guys, and whoever's watching still, if they're still here. What I did, I cooked a nice pot of beans, and it's our basic bean, the one that we did in the crock pot here video. But I'll tweak that. I'll smoke some pork ribs and throw a little bit of that in there. Cut, the trimmings, I'll throw those in the beans. And what I did at this particular event, I refried the beans with manteca. Some of them, I took some out and refried them. You know how they get that nice toasty flavor? Yeah. And then I threw a couple of tablespoons of that into the beans, let them dissolve back into the broth. And so they had that flavor too. And boom, they were first place, man. That was pretty awesome.
There you go. There you go, man.
Man, awesome.
Well, we're pushing an hour and 20 minutes, Arnie.
Cool.
I know. Thanks for your time, man. For sure.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. I really appreciate you guys very, very much, man. Thanks for having me. I feel very honored and humbled, and want to wish you guys the best of luck, in comp and just whatever else you guys are doing, man. Thank you for supporting.
Thank you.
Arnie Tex and our channel, and for following, man. Thanks for doing the recipes, man. I love feedback. We get a lot of feedback, and people, enjoy the recipes, and that's always my litmus test. Like, I know how to do it because I do it right all the time. But when somebody else does it that's never done it before, and they have a good result, that makes me feel good that we're doing something good, to share with people.
Cool.
That bean gravy is where it's at.
That's it, man. For sure. Try that refried trick, man. You'll blow some people away for sure.
Thanks, Colin. Well, cool, Arnie. I appreciate it, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I don't want to hold you up any longer. I know you probably got some stuff you got to get going on too. So
I'm still trying to wrap up the last month of 2024 for my comptroller. I got to pay that tonight. So otherwise, I got a late fee. I don't want to pay no late fee, so I'm gonna go work on that right now. But hey, man, I appreciate you guys a bunch, man. And,
thanks, Arnie.
Thank you.
No, thanks again, Arnie. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you, all you guys, man. Shoot me a message, all you guys, so that I can follow y'all too, man. I appreciate you guys a bunch.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll be looking forward to some more content and the book and everything else that you got going on. So
cool.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
So
hopefully we can do a West Texas swing, a book tour or something. That's kind of in the plan. Man. I don't know how it's going to come together, but I do hopefully plan to do a little tour of Texas at the very least. The publisher would like to take us all over the country, but I'm like, dude, we're so busy, man. I don't know. And I do think our reach, our followers is a bigger following than to just go to a town and get a few people at a time, right?
Yeah.
But right. Anyway, we'll see how it goes, man. I definitely want to do a swing around Texas because we got friends everywhere.
Yeah, get with Aaron. I'm sure the half acre will.
Yeah, that'd be an awesome place to do it for sure. Definitely.
For sure. Well, cool, Arnie. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for everything. And like I said, we'll be looking forward to more Arnie Tex content.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate the follow, and y'all stay safe and stay warm. We'll talk to y'all later. God bless you.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Arnie.
Okay.
All
right. Can we get the boom? I guess not.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Damn, bro.
Good.
Yeah, that was a little starstruck there, bro, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, it took you an hour and 15 minutes to tell the bean story.
Well, how do you tell somebody you fucked up the recipe, bro? Ah, dang.
That was a great show, man. It was a great show.
Man, that was good.
I think we could have kept going, but he's a busy man. We all are. So cool.
Yep. Yes, sir.
What else we got, guys?
What we got next week?
I don't know.
I think next week is I think that's Anthony and the boys.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. My
Those
homies.
boys.
What do we got, Anthony? Describe
Well,
what we got next week.
we got some up and comers, man, new to the barbecue comp scene. Well, actually, they ain't about the comp scene, but they're just some good old boys that like to enjoy cooking and hang out and whatnot, bro. Drink like me. Well, hopefully not like me, but but guys that are just interested in kicking back and cooking, man, and guys that really stepped up their game and got a little taste of the comp world, and yeah, now they kind of got a little bit of hunger for more, so they'd be really looking forward to this show. So just it'd be nice to be able to get everyday guys kind of point of view on stuff, and be pretty
Maybe
cool.
answer some of their questions. They ask you lots of
Right on.
questions or no?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Shoot, yeah.
So be ready, fellas.
No, that'll be good. That'll be good.
Be a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Looking forward to it. Kind of that outside perspective.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, just the regular backyarder type guy who.
Exactly.
Do they do any cooking or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they do some damn good cooking too.
Oh yeah, that's the one you were telling me that he made.
Like carnitas, dude.
Carnitas, right?
Bro. Yeah, man. I mean, he has got it. My boy Frankie got it down to a science, man.
Nice.
But yeah.
Well, tell him to bring that recipe.
Yeah, no shit. You already been asking or what?
Man, let's just say I put the feelers out, bro, and they got that kind of, you know what I mean?
The secret is smoked hatch chili.
What the? It's some crumbled up, also burritos with some chili.
It's that taco sauce.
There you go, man. There you go.
Hey, that shit, don't sleep on that taco sauce. It's good.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right on.
Cool. Anything else? We're good?
I think we're good, fellas.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming on again, and we'll do it again next week.
Looking forward to it, fellas. Sir. Have a good week, guys.
All right, man.
All right, we'll see y'all, fellas. Later.
This is Parrish Randall, and this concludes this episode of Beyond the Smoke. Thanks for stopping by, friend. We hope to see you again real soon. Until next time, happy trails. Until we talk meat again.